It happened just after dawn on a fog-draped pier. An elderly man sat alone, arms wrapped around a German shepherd that wasn't his. Then came the sirens, the shouts, the command, K9 attack. But the dog didn't obey. He did something no one expected. He ran straight into the veteran's arms, as if he'd finally found the one person he'd been searching for his entire life. The morning had begun in perfect stillness, the kind only found where land meets sea before the world wakes up. Mist curled off the harbor like breath, softening edges and muffling sound. On a splintered bench near the end of the pier sat an old man in a faded flannel shirt, his hands resting gently on the back of a large German shepherd. The dog leaned into him, eyes half closed, breathing slow and steady. There was no leash, no collar anyone recognized, just quiet trust between two souls who seemed to belong to each other. Then, the peace shattered. Police radios crackled with urgency. Boots pounded the wet wood. Officers flooded the boardwalk, weapons drawn, voices sharp with alarm. They'd receive a report. A missing police K9, last seen heading this way. What they found wasn't a suspect holding a dog hostage. It was something far more confusing. The veteran didn't flinch as officers surrounded him. He simply kept stroking the dog's fur, unaware of the tension tightening behind him like a coiled spring. The dog didn't bark or pull away. He stayed rooted beside the man, as if guarding something precious no one else could see. The supervising officer stepped forward, her gray suit damp from the morning air, eyes locked on the scene before her. "Move," she ordered, voice edged with steel. "That dog belongs to us. He's trained to attack. We don't know what you've done to him." Two deputies fanned out, hands hovering over holsters. The veteran lifted his head slowly, confusion clouding his tired eyes, but the dog never stirred. He stayed pressed against the man's leg, ears alert but body calm, as if guarding him from the very people he once obeyed without question. One deputy whispered, "Ma'am, the dog isn't acting aggressive toward the man." "Exactly," she snapped, "which means something is off. We take control now." She raised her hand sharply. "Handlers, prepare for engagement. This situation is unstable." Then, with unwavering authority, she pointed directly at the K9 and gave the command no service dog ever ignores. K9 attack. Silence followed, not the kind born of obedience, but of stunned disbelief. The German shepherd didn't lunge. He didn't even growl at the veteran. Instead, he turned his head toward the officers, eyes wide with something almost like betrayal. A low, warning rumble rose in his chest, not aimed at the old man, but the armed figures closing in. His muscles tensed. He shifted his weight, planting himself firmly between the veteran and the threat. "Engage, K9. "That's an order," the supervisor shouted again, her voice cracking under pressure. Still, the dog refused. He backed up slightly, pressing his flank against the veteran's trembling leg, every hair along his spine standing tall. It wasn't training that held him there, it was loyalty. Pure, unwavering, and utterly inexplicable to the officers watching in stunned silence. One deputy froze mid-step as the dog snarled louder, making it clear. Any move toward the man would be met with full force. "What the? Why is he guarding him?" another whispered. The supervisor's face went pale. This wasn't disobedience, it was devotion. Whispers rippled through the unit as uncertainty replaced certainty. The veteran, bewildered, looked down at the dog. "Easy, boy," he whispered, fingers brushing through thick fur. Something in the animal's posture, the way he leaned, the quiet intensity in his gaze, stirred a memory long buried beneath years of grief and silence. Slowly, almost fearfully, the man lifted the dog's harness and traced a faint, jagged scar just below the shoulder. His breath caught. "This mark," he murmured. "This shouldn't be possible." One officer stepped closer. "Sir, what are you talking about?" The veteran swallowed hard. "My partner. My K9 partner from overseas. He had this exact scar, from the blast that took out our entire unit." The words hung in the damp air like smoke. The supervising officer stiffened. "Your service dog? But that would mean he died." The veteran's voice cracked. "At least that's what I was told." Just then, The shepherd lifted his head and looked directly into the man's eyes. No command, no cue, just recognition so deep it felt sacred. The veteran's breath faltered. No, it can't be. But the dog took one small step forward and rested his muzzle against the man's chest, as if confirming a truth too vast for words. Officers exchanged glances, suspicion melting into awe. One deputy knelt slightly, studying the scar. "Ma'am, this matches the injury log for K9 Delta. The military dog reported lost in the Al-Rashid ambush 7 years ago." The veteran blinked. Delta, that was his call name. The supervisor's eyes widened. "You're telling me our active duty police K9 is your military partner, presumed dead all this time?" Before anyone could answer, the shepherd lifted his right paw and placed it gently on the veteran's knee. It was a gesture so specific, so deliberate, that 2 officers gasped aloud. The veteran covered his mouth with a shaking hand. "I trained him to do that," he whispered. "When the nightmares came, when I couldn't breathe, he put his paw right here. It was the only thing that brought me back." Tears welled in his eyes. "I thought I lost you," he said, voice breaking. "I mourned you for years." The dog responded by leaning fully into him, tail giving the faintest hopeful wag. A soldier finally home. The supervisor exhaled slowly, the rigid lines of her authority softening into something far more human. She holstered her weapon. "Everyone stand down." Her voice was quiet but firm. "This dog isn't confused. He's choosing." Deputies lowered their hands, stepping back as the truth settled over them like morning light. The veteran knelt slowly, wrapping his frail arms around the dog's neck. The shepherd pressed close, as if making up for 7 years of separation in a single embrace. For the first time since the sirens wailed, the pier felt warm again. The supervisor approached, her tone gentle now. "Sir, if you're willing, he's yours. Permanently." The man looked up, tears glistening in the pale sunrise. "Mine?" he asked, disbelief mingling with hope. She nodded. "He always was." Above them, the clouds parted. Golden light spilled across the water, catching in the dog's fur as he rested his head on the veteran's chest, peaceful at last. Their battle was over. Their homecoming had begun. Some bonds aren't broken by time, distance, or even war. They wait, in silence, in scars, in the quiet corners of a dog's heart, until the moment they're needed most. This wasn't disobedience. It was love remembering itself. And in a world that often chooses rules over hearts, stories like this remind us that sometimes the deepest truths are spoken without a single word. If this story moved you, please hit like and subscribe. Your support helps us share more real rescues like this. Where are you watching from? Drop your country below. I read every comment. And if you believe animals carry healing in their paws and loyalty in their souls, share this with someone who needs hope today. Because somewhere out there, another lost soul is waiting to be found. Not by chance, but by the unbreakable thread of a bond that never truly faded. These moments don't just change lives. They restore faith in the invisible ties that hold us together, even when the world tries to tear us apart. So thank you for watching, for caring, and for believing that every tale has a tale worth telling. In the end, it's not about commands or protocols. It's about who we choose to protect and who chooses to come back for us, no matter how many years have passed.